Citizen presents New Era Religion, Episode 62, June 10, 2022. Desperate humans resort to Politico Religio Judicial Recourse. Imagine never getting out of the most troublesome environmental predicament that seems to be a problem-making scenario everywhere in the world these days. Typically, it is referred to as a system, the governing systems, in various forms that continue wreaking havoc on Earth's human populations as some sort of endurance factors who must survive the onslaughts, the depravities, the inhumanities from all echelons of the sociological, politico religio judicial interactions, descending directionally to the vulnerable children. Such a condition would be deplorable from any perspective. Whether you are deeply entrenched, locally situate in the relative insanity, perpetually being subjected to the physical, mental abuses precisely where you live out each day, surviving to the best of your inherent ability with the strength of character, innately, integrally, as if by divine intervention and/or the design is of your particular DNA, RNA codes of life that cannot be stolen as identities are. Why would anyone want to steal someone's identity if it was not to survive the human condition's governing system or the misguiding emulators of such power as to render anyone a slave of its imprisoning self-other detrimental determination? Pitting self-determination against a great force potentially is always a relative disadvantage. Most of us give little thought to such possibilities when, from morning throughout the 24-hour cycle, we awake, abide by rules and laws, not feeling too deeply about most of the impositions, as we can read about the extremes of it in the news headlines and all sorts of communications devices these days. Observing otherness for glimpses into the aberrant interactions, those desperate events that involve the human personality, the many different types of personalities, including the deranged delusions that catch us off guard. When least expected, humans are caught off guard. And this seems to be an undecided variable factor that was not factored into the best laid plans wherever systems of governing power begin to take form. Once formulated, of course, there is always room for improving the plan, amending the schemes that are misidentified as systems. Amendments to official documents constitute the formal type of contract, such as a nation's constitution intends to serve as a guiding outline to be filled in, expanded over time, as variously developing problems may not have been known at the initial signing. Humans sign contractual agreements as a rather superficial agreement, with what may seem to cover all salient points, but actually never does. This is because a contract, when omitting universe, technically starts with parts, the parts that are relevant to the parties involved in the agreement. Eventually, things can begin to fall apart, where survival instincts may be more pronounced by one or the other, many and or few who do not want to go down with a metaphorical ship, but must survive at all cost. What is this deplorable scenario, with episodes of various durations that are controlling the events in human populations? Does it comprise any one or all of the interrelating PRJWBCS factors? Those are the politics, religion, justice, war, belief, complex schemes. When are the schemes interrelating, interdependent factors designated as systems of influence? Wherever humans are considered as conforming entities, properties of self-other designated authority that also proclaims to be ordained by God in judgment of others, how does the mentality express its condemning disdain for humans as evolution beings, humans of a mind? Now, imagine conceptualizing one prime spherical domain, reading about what that prime spherical domain consists of in Synergetics 982.01. Doing so, that self and others can associate the conceptuality of the prime spherical domain with the vector equilibriums, topology, and geometry. Since the vector equilibrium consists of 144 quantum modules, as does the prime spherical domain, clearly the geometries potentially are one and the same, whereas the tetrahedron not only consists of 24 quantum modules, it constitutes volumetric unity. Consequently, metaphysical intellect's omnirational conceptual capability as a function of universe can recognize that its conceptual capabilities synergetically are integral to imagination's ability to formulate conceptually by design, to explore the eternal cosmic vector field within which these energy quantum modules occur. More obviously, awareness of the prime spherical domain presents what may turn out to be the most comprehensive, omniconsiderate, alternative conceptual experience for humans who want to comprehend universe and feel a great need to get out of systems and schemes. From the beginning of being betweenness, selves, outwardly and inwardly initial realizations are represented by the vector equilibrium. Logically, as the representation occurs correlatively to the prime spheric domain, conscious self is represented by the cosmic vector field during tuned-in awareness of the most economically structured environment of universe. We may eventually conclude that the vector equilibrium as our humanity's prime spheric domain represents self's longing to manifest a true democracy. Imagine that a true democracy's prime spherical domain is the vector equilibrium. In total, the people comprise otherness, as the individual is self. Theoretically, the vector equilibrium may represent the individual's self-realization, as well as its metaphysical awareness of the most economical energetic vector formulations, if so. This is especially in respect to where all nature's events are most economical frequency modulatability as a conceptuality of the energy synergy that humans require knowledge of for survival. This means the people and the individuals within a true democracy comprising every nation's populace now have an omnirational, multidimensional geodesic vector matrix, which is the eternal cosmic vector field that is most economically structured to refer anticipatory thought. At last, humans of a mind. Our intelligent evolution species have geometric models to which our anticipatory design science realizations can refer. Can anyone confidently say, I think, therefore, my awareness of synergetics, which is the geometry of thinking, provides a coordinate system for thought and language referential to the generalized cosmic vector field's minimum thinkable set? In generalized principle, the minimum thinkable set cannot destroy itself. Since the structural integrity of universe is the basic unit of mensuration and unity, wherewith the tetrahedron's volume of one coincides with awareness of reintegrating and restoring timeless zero-phase unity. Without a conceptual model of self-regeneration, self's thinking environment where thought begins, as two spheres come together, then 3 spheres for one triangle, and 4 spheres to demonstrate the tetrahedron, 6 lines, 4 corners, 4 triangular faces of the minimum thinkable set. Besides, epistemology is modelable, and so the essential knowledge, as intellect consciously thinks, involves the mind in the underway matters, with epistemology coinciding with the geometric models. To supplant awareness of this metaphysical generalized conceptioning field of thought with any predominant physical objective of the PRJWBCS, the human imagination's ability to formulate conceptually cannot omnirationally and holistically function as an information-gathering local problem solver. The human mind's consciousness evolution would be in despair, tending to resort to desperate measures. The measures, therefore, could not be referential to unity, nor would be synergetically advantaged. Instead, the mind in the underway matters uses imagination to satisfy whichever PRJWBCS factor that happens to be associated with the physical predominant objective. The R factor and the W factor mistakenly seem unrelated in this regard, but as conflicting emotions to extremes of dissatisfaction drive the momentum for change at any cost, to satisfy imaginable shortcuts as the immediate solution, the further from the truth of omnicomprehensive universe can go the human mind. Similar to an airplane that loses balance, goes into a potentially unrecoverable tailspin, crashing into the surface below on land or plunging into water. Depending on yet multifarious survival conditions, the desperate, myopic observer's frustrations with the seemingly insurmountable interrelationship odds between self and otherness become confused, neglecting to include the J factor as an inevitable conflicting multi-personality force by mistaking immediate judgments that deal with more than one face, be that of the frustrated reactionary and or the courts of law. During crisis mode, emotions are too overwhelming to factor in all that ought to be known to comprehensively solve the seemingly insurmountable odds against achieving what seems always to be out of reach. To be continued in episode 63.